So, this is my review on the game, Resident Evil Village, the good and bad, my experience throughout this, game. Uh, it was, I played it for like literally 9 hours straight, and that's how long the game is doing like the main story and all the sub-bosses and all the treasure hunting and whatnot. And I have to say, this game wasn't too bad. I know there's a couple of reviews on it already saying how it's not that great, but I think it's because people's expectations didn't meet the demand. Resident Evil is known for, survival horror, mostly towards zombies, but if everybody knows, it's actually, the bioweapons that are the main thing about Resident Evil, not just zombies. And definitely there's maybe a handful of zombies in this game, but it's not really focused around. It's more like vampires, werewolves, and even like Frankenstein fish type stuff. It was going for a theme, and I know a lot of people were saying how this is basically like Resident Evil 4 and 7, or Resident Evil, yeah, 7 mixed together, and it's fairly accurate, but not exactly. I find the controls were, simple enough. A little complicated at first, but it wasn't too bad. The visuals of the game were pretty nice for the PlayStation 4. Didn't play it on 5 yet. And my experience was pretty well pleasant. I was scared in some areas, and once I conquered those fears and those creatures and monsters, I felt strong enough to kind of conquer the game without any hesitation. You'll find yourself fighting these 4 main bosses throughout the game, and each boss scenario is completely different from the other. You're gonna have a whole different experience with each boss you fight, or the first one you'll fight is more traditional to like fighting, like, I don't know, like William Birkin type of deal. Then the second one you'll fight is more about hallucinations and it gets pretty eerie. Well, the third is more like fighting a giant fish, and it's a very watery terrain, and it requires a little more strategy. Then the last one is more like, I don't know, like fighting the Ouroboros monster from Resident Evil 5, and then the final boss, which is kind of like a combination of like ground, flying, and like phases where they can one-shot you, so you have to avoid. You're constantly on your feet. So the fights weren't too bad. I find that some of the sub-bosses were a bit kind of redundant, because I felt like ammunition is a bit scarce than here, and some of them just take too much to drop. Other than that, I didn't have too much to complain about any of the sub-bosses or the boss fights. It's the horror factor is there, some spots. I definitely was like, had a few good jump scares here and there. The puzzle solving, though, I would say it's not exactly like how Resident Evil normally does their puzzles, because there's a lot of backtracking to do, and then get this one item, bring it over to another, and I find in this it was a little diluted. Like, the puzzle solving here wasn't that like, I don't know, the element of a traditional Resident Evil puzzle solving wasn't there. But it didn't make the game any less, like, fun, I guess. It was fair in a lot of areas. That gives you just enough ammunition to get by. You can create your own ammunition, or you can buy like some from the shopkeeper, but like it's only limited in there, so you're most likely looking for materials to kind of make your ammunition, and like it's between like your health items to explosives and ammunition. So it's like how you craft your items, it's dependent on the situation and what materials you have on you at the time. Quite a bit of good combat in this, though, compared to the one before. where you're just being like pretty much a defenseless guy beating like these family of like bioweapons, and you're kind of like unexperienced in this. While in this game you still play as Ethan, you're more experienced, you have guns, you're kind of built to be more combat and defend yourself in this compared to the last game. And this game is an exact sequel, which I think takes place 3 years later from the before, which is still the same cast from the before game. And of course Chris in here is back, and he actually looks more better. He actually looks like he's aged from the sixth game, or even the Vendetta movie, and it doesn't look like that weird version of Chris that we had in the game before, which I wasn't a fan of. And I'm a huge fan. Like, Chris is my favorite Resident Evil character of all time. Like, he was my poster boy for this franchise. Every time I think of Resident Evil, Chris Redfield is like my on the mind. The mechanics of this game, I didn't find any glitches except for if you can outrun some of the characters that are supposed to chase you, around the mansion, like Lady Demetrius coming after you and stuff. If there's certain things you can kind of trigger, even like the sub-wolf bosses, which are the bigger lichens, you can basically manipulate their AI brain to like forget you easier, and you can trick them into like being stuck in a wall, and you can take advantage of it. So I think the AI should be a little bit smarter, and I don't know, it almost felt like the AI was a little stupid. And other than that, I don't think the being chased around and stuff. I mean, I felt like it was better in Resident Evil Remake 2, where Nemesis was chasing after you. No, that's 3, and Mr. X. Like, both the remakes, how the AI would chase after you, they were way smarter than the AIs that are in here. And I said it's easier to manipulate. Maybe it was just it's a different like engine or game style than the remakes were. So I don't know if it's like they just didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't catch this. But not a whole lot of glitches or bugs in this game at all. My PlayStation didn't sound like an airplane playing this, as I thought it would. And my PlayStation handled it pretty well. It was pretty quiet for the most part. The story of this wasn't too bad, honestly. Like, it's like direct sequel. It starts from like, it starts from like a 0, and it really hits to 100 within a matter of minutes of playing, and shit just hits the fan. And you're like, you follow like the dialogue or whatever the scene is, and they kind of push you to where you're supposed to go, and then eventually you get the freedom to kind of roam around. Definitely caught me off guard, was surprised, and was like, the oh fuck factor was pretty there. Like, I think they did a good job with starting the story up. For the most part of the gameplay, you're going around, doing some of the mini puzzles, the combat of surviving these lichens to zombie vampire creatures to what they call in here ghouls, but they're kind of like, they're zombies. They come out of the ground in tombstones, and they're kind of like shambling, but they're not exactly like undead looking. They're kind of just like malnourished bald people, so they're like ghouls. Definitely goes with the factor of some of the Transylvania folklore that's in here, with some of the sub-bosses and creatures that are in here. I honestly will have to like rate this game like a good solid maybe like 8 out of 10. I'm like, I want to give it a 9, but like I said, the whole puzzle and stuff wasn't there, and I felt that to be not as Resident Evil because of it. Because I mean, it's not just survival horror, it's also like puzzle solving, and I find it was like very watered down in this. But it's not too bad, honestly. Like, a lot of people are like trashing it already, and it's only been out for a couple of days. And this is like, I'm trying to be honest here. Like, no, I'm not following no trends. I'm not being biased. I do love Resident Evil, and I'm not afraid to talk shit about it where it needs to be talked shit about. But honestly, this game was fun. It definitely feels like a game. It feels like the one before this one. Doesn't feel like a traditional Resident Evil, but it is definitely, the fun factor is there. The graphics are pretty amazing for what the PlayStation can handle. I really love to see the 5 version of it, myself. The sound was it was like, the sound was amazing because it would follow like wherever you are in the area, and it will travel through each different, like, your ear to depending on where you're looking and direction. But I feel like the audio of it, of the characters speaking, like not Ethan or Chris or Maya, more like the, like, Lady Demetrius and Carl Heisenberg. Like, I don't know about their audio, but they sound like they're talking through like a walkie-talkie. I don't know, it's my PlayStation in particular, but I thought it was a little off. Like, the audio of it just sounded kind of definitely off. And I definitely, like I said, I was scared. I thought I felt pretty strong once I had better weapons. You can upgrade your stuff. You can go treasure hunting and exchange for money to get better gear. Eventually, when you do beat the game, you get additional content where, like, you can get unlimited ammo for some of your guns. But of course, you have to beat the game and do the challenges in there to gain, I think it was like CP or some shit like that, like credit points. And you exchange those for, I don't know, figurines, art, maybe soundtrack, just like bonus materials in the game, in the main menu. Um, the I'm trying to think how not to spoil it too much. Where the story is like, the Ethan's child is like probably, they're saying, the strongest like VOW that they have, and that's why they kidnapped her. And it's not like how the game like shows in the beginning, or even like the trailers and stuff. It looks like Chris is like the bad guy, and he kidnaps and kills your wife and kidnaps your kid and fucking takes off and stuff. But it's not, it definitely misguided everybody that watched the trailer and played the game, because that's not at all what happens. Like, in the beginning, like, again, not trying to spoil it too much, that it's like Chris is not a bad guy. He literally just took the kid to study it without the, I don't know, being too alert that this kid is actually some dangerous, like very, very dangerous. Apparently more dangerous than like Nemesis, Mr. X, fucking Wesker, William Birkins, his forms and stuff. Because I guess like she was born with the Evelyn disease parasite thing, like the molded creature BOWs from the game before, and somehow she can like control it or whatever on the lines of that, and she has powers on like beyond. And at the end of the game, I mean, like, you see her as a teenager, and she's already like being watched over by like Chris's team, and basically like that's kind of like her family or parents type of stuff right now, because like she can't go out by herself. She's a bioweapon, a very dangerous one. And as like Evelyn, I don't know if she ages rapidly or anything, but she it takes time. Like, there is a time gap where you see her more as a teenager, and she is pretty much feels threatened by one of like the guards or her watchers, and basically he had the watcher had to confirm that he was okay, because if he wasn't, that they were gonna put her down because she's that dangerous. So I'm kind of curious where they're gonna go with this. And as the game progresses and it comes to an end, um, basically we're coming to the end of it where you know, Ethan actually does die. He sacrifices himself for his family and Chris to get out. And Chris comes across this BSAA soldier where he's actually a zombie, and it says that they want to go to the Europe headquarters of the BSAA. And I'm thinking that maybe they're corrupted, or there's some kind of like zombie shit going on, or we might even get zombies again, because that clearly looks like a zombie. And in the game, they were dropped off at the mansion as you're playing as Chris and work your way there to stop this big ass fetus parasite thing. So at the end of it, I said I think it's more of a trend. People don't like this game, even though it's only been out for a couple of days. Honestly, I think play it for yourself. Everybody has their own experiences as they play it, and I have no hate for the franchise or this game at all. I would say, said a solid 8 out of 10 for the efforts and the art and the gameplay and like the story and everything about it. And I wish they added a bit more puzzles to it to feel like a traditional Resident Evil game. And a game didn't disappoint me. I pre-ordered it, played it the day after in the morning, and I sat through a good chunk of it, like almost 9 hours straight. I didn't really want to put it down because I wanted to complete it. And somewhat addictive. Definitely, probably replay value is minimum. I mean, like I said, the only worth of it after you beat in the game is playing on a harder difficulty, and with the CP or credit point thing, where you get unlimited ammo or you can buy better guns and shit, is the only replay value I can think of. Like, I'm probably gonna play it on the hardest difficulty after I get all, like, you know, the cheat weapons where I unlocked it from my CP points, and play through it once again to beat it on the hardest difficulty with those weapons. And other than that, there's not much replay value to it, other than if you just want to play on a harder difficulty with better gear. But yes, try it yourself. Everyone has their own opinion. This was mine, and I thought it was a pretty great game, to be honest. So thanks for watching. Subscribe or don't. I don't do this for a job. I do this for fun. And I thought I'd give an honest review about this game, so people would not take the people trend and hate on this game too seriously.
Even now, the burnt forest is a grim reminder of Father's sacrifice. To this day, any child who stares too long into the charred wasteland will be haunted by nightmares of getting lost while picking berries.